But the differences between the two is going to be something to watch here. To Wall Street Journal editorial board member Mary Kissel. We've got Money Map Press's Keith Fitz-Gerald. So, Keith, and would you begin with you? What is your sense of where this is going? Obviously, markets like what they're hearing, these differences notwithstanding, that it is on track for tax cuts getting voted on and even approved this year. What do you think?
I think it's a very important step. And here's the thing that I think is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. Politically speaking, all the hullabaloo is going to be about the personal tax cuts, the fourth bracket, all these kinds of things. You know, that's like looking for the 12th man on the Seahawks field. You're never going to find him, but he's always around. The second thing is going to be what the financial markets think about this. To that is very clear because they're going to look at what this is going to do to their bottom line, to their foreign direct investment, and what it potentially means to all of the cash that they're generating overseas. So Wall Street's going to pay attention to one thing. Personal politics is going to go the other direction. Somewhere in the middle we're going to meet, but the net is a gain for the market.
Well, you know, Mary, I'm just kind of confused. I know you guys are much smarter than I am at this stuff, but Rand Paul says a no vote on the budget doesn't mean he's not a yes vote on tax cuts. Conversely, other senators who voted yes on the budget indicate that doesn't automatically mean they're a yes on the tax cuts. So is this necessarily a sort of an advanced snapshot how the vote might go on tax reform?
Well, I don't think anybody knows what the purpose is of Rand Paul in Washington these days, given the votes that he took on Obamacare, repeal and replace, and the language that he's used about tax cuts and deficits. Neil, I think what's most interesting here is what Paul Ryan just said about a fourth tax bracket. I think Paul Ryan has been scarred by the health care debate, and he's talking about taxing the rich as pander to the Democrats. But, you know, to what end? The Democrats aren't going to come in and compromise on tax reform. I think that Paul Ryan should be pushing for the deepest cuts, the most reductions in deductions that he can possibly obtain, and to resist the kind of corporate welfare and personal welfare that guys like Mike Lee and Marco Rubio are calling for in the form of child tax credits.
You know, let's say, Keith, that there is this fourth tax rate. The president argues, you know, essentially a fifth because you have a 0% rate. We just don't know at what level it would kick in and who would be ensnared. Would it water it down in your eyes and take away its impact? Or, you know, the old argument, something is better than nothing. What do you think?
Well, look, you want some form of tax reform, clearly. Republicans have to pass this. We have to get this economy growing at 3%. But it will have an impact on growth if you don't reduce the tax burden on the preponderance of people who are paying our taxes. We have an incredibly progressive tax system, and we know that the marginal benefit to growth really comes from cutting the people at the top. And Republicans used to understand this. It is a remarkable switch to see people like Paul Ryan, who, you know, learned at the knee of Jack Kemp.
That's
You've
true.
got to cut taxes for everybody. To hear him really mimic the language of the left on this.
What would the fallout be, Keith, do you think, among Wall Street investors, many of whom, of course, welcome the corporate tax rate cut? They'll immediately benefit from that, obviously, as will some of the stocks that underpin that. But they themselves would probably make up that crowd that doesn't get the cut. What do you think?
Well, you know, there's two sort of thoughts on this. One, if you're paying taxes, it means you've had a good year. So net, that's a good thing. Now, do you have to pay more taxes or less? That remains to be seen. Where I come down now is very simple. Big government equals small wallet. And the more money they're taking out of pockets is money that does not go into the business, does not go into Social Security, does not go into social services, all of which are badly needed, to the president's point, for the middle class. So that, to me, is the litmus test, is how does the middle class, which has been sold out since the financial crisis began, recover or benefit from this? That, to me, is what I'm really watching most closely. All
right, but on that point, Keith, and then I want to raise it with you, Mary, if the upper income don't see a rate cut, in other words, let's say hypothetically it stays at 39.6%. We just don't know at what level that would kick in. But all other taxes are cut. Corporate rates go down to 20%, might be staggered in over a few years. They still go down. You think, Keith, that would still be favorably, you know, addressed?
I think it's going to be favorable for Wall Street. Now, the thing that politicians repeatedly demonstrate absolute lack of understanding on is that money is mobile. If you treat it punitively, it will leave. So whether these individuals move to other countries, whether they change their domiciles, how they move those companies around, that remains to be seen. But the link between treating money punitively and money leaving is very, very clear, and it's shown throughout history. So I'm going to be stunned if the politicians say this is a surprise.
Mary?
Well, I think there's a deeper philosophical question here. What is the point of the tax code? You want to send a message to the American people that it's bad to get rich, and if you get rich, you're going to get punished in this country? Or do you want to send the message that we should all aspire to be rich? We want everybody to have that opportunity. We celebrate people who are successful, and we want them to be even more successful so that they'll hire more people, create new products that'll make our lives better, that'll contribute to the wealth and prosperity of the country. That's the message I want Republicans on Capitol Hill to be sending. It's not the message that Paul Ryan is sending right now.
All right, guys, thank you both very, very much. In the meantime,